Welcome to Lesson 7.7 of the Grant Architect course. In this lesson, we explore the evaluation matrix, a planning tool that organizes your evaluation approach into a clear, comprehensive framework. An evaluation matrix displays the relationships among evaluation questions, indicators, data sources, methods, and timing in a structured format. This tool serves multiple purposes in proposal development and evaluation implementation. It helps you think through your evaluation systematically, ensures all important elements are addressed, communicates your approach clearly to reviewers, and guides data collection once the project begins. Many funders explicitly request evaluation matrices or similar tables that summarize evaluation plans. Even when not required, including a matrix strengthens proposals by demonstrating thorough planning. By the end of this lesson, you will understand how to construct evaluation matrices and use them to strengthen your proposals. The evaluation matrix is a fundamental planning tool. The definition is a visual tool linking evaluation elements. It is typically presented as a table or grid. Each row represents something you want to evaluate. Purpose is to organize the evaluation plan in clear format. Matrices make complex evaluation designs understandable. They show how pieces fit together. Components include objectives, indicators, data sources, methods, and timing. Each column represents a different element of the evaluation plan. Function ensures evaluation is comprehensive and aligned. The matrix reveals gaps. If an objective has no indicator, you see it. If a data source is missing, it is obvious. Analysis transforms raw data into findings that address evaluation questions. Analysis planning should occur during design before data collection begins. Specify analysis procedures in advance to prevent post hoc analytic decisions that may capitalize on chance findings. However, remain open to emergent questions that data may raise. Document all analytical decisions and their rationale. Matrix structure organizes information systematically. Rows represent each objective or evaluation question. Each row focuses on one thing you want to evaluate. One row per objective keeps the matrix organized. Columns represent indicator, data source, method, timing, and responsibility. Standard columns ensure you address all elements. Additional columns can be added as needed. Cells contain specific answers for each element. The intersection of row and column contains specific information. What indicator will you use for this objective? Format uses table structure for easy reading. Clear formatting helps readers understand quickly. Alignment matters visually. Missing data affect most evaluations and require thoughtful handling. Complete case analysis excludes cases with any missing values but may introduce bias if missingness is not random. Single imputation replaces missing values with plausible estimates but understates uncertainty. Multiple imputation creates several plausible data sets, analyzes each, and combines results appropriately. Select missing data methods appropriate to missingness patterns and analysis goals. Descriptive statistics summarize data characteristics and should precede more complex analyses. For continuous variables, report central tendency using mean or median depending on distribution shape. The mean works well for symmetric distributions, while the median better represents skewed distributions. Report variability using standard deviation for symmetric distributions or interquartile range for skewed ones. Report range showing minimum and maximum values. For categorical variables, report frequencies and percentages for each category. Consider collapsing categories with very small frequencies to protect confidentiality and simplify presentation. Missing data warrant careful attention in descriptive analysis. Report the amount and pattern of missing data. Consider whether missing data appear random or systematic. Systematic patterns of missingness may indicate bias that affects interpretation. Descriptive statistics for key variables should appear in results sections and often in tables that allow readers to understand sample characteristics. Regression analysis examines relationships between outcomes and predictors while controlling for other variables. Multiple regression predicts continuous outcomes from multiple predictors simultaneously. It reveals the unique contribution of each predictor, holding others constant. Regression assumptions include linearity of relationships, independence of observations, homoscedasticity, meaning constant variance of residuals, and normally distributed residuals. Violation of assumptions may require transformation of variables. use of robust methods or alternative approaches. Logistic regression predicts categorical outcomes, particularly binary outcomes. It estimates the odds of an outcome occurring based on predictor values. Hierarchical or multi-level regression accounts for nested data structures such as participants within sites or repeated measurements within individuals. Ignoring nesting violates the independence assumption and typically underestimates standard errors, inflating significance. Key column data sources identifies where information for each indicator will come from. Data source specification shows that you have thought through how you will actually obtain needed information. Administrative data sources include program records, enrollment databases, service logs, and similar information collected as part of program operations. These sources provide process data efficiently but may have limitations for outcome assessment. Survey data sources involve questionnaires administered to participants, staff, or other stakeholders. Specify who will complete surveys, when, and how they will be administered. Interview and focus group data sources gather qualitative information from selected individuals or groups. Specify who will be interviewed, how many, and how they will be selected. Observation data sources involve direct observation of program activities. Specify what will be observed, by whom, and using what protocols. Existing instruments or administrative systems should be named specifically if you will use established measures or access existing databases. Data source feasibility deserves attention. Can you actually access the data you plan to use? Do you have permission, capacity, and resources? Unrealistic data source plans undermine evaluation credibility. Data cleaning identifies and addresses errors, inconsistencies, and missing values before analysis. Range checks flag impossible values. Consistency checks identify contradictory responses. Pattern analysis detects suspicious response patterns. Document all changes made during cleaning. Preserve original data files and create separate cleaned versions. The cleaning audit trail supports transparency and reproducibility. Key column methods describes how you will collect data from specified sources. Method specification demonstrates methodological rigor and practical planning. Quantitative method descriptions include survey administration mode and procedures, assessment protocols and administration conditions, administrative data extraction procedures, and observation recording methods. Provide enough detail that reviewers can assess appropriateness. Qualitative method descriptions include interview guide structure and approach, focus group facilitation procedures, observation protocols and recording methods, and document analysis procedures. Qualitative methods require attention to sampling and saturation. Mixed methods description should indicate how quantitative and qualitative components relate. If methods are sequential, note the order and connection. If concurrent, note how findings will be integrated. Sampling approach for each method should be indicated. Who participates in surveys versus interviews? How are participants selected? Sample sizes should be justified. Method limitations should be acknowledged where relevant. No method is perfect. Reviewers appreciate acknowledgement of limitations paired with explanation of why the approach remains appropriate. Statistical significance testing addresses whether observed differences or relationships likely reflect real effects versus chance variation. The null hypothesis typically states no difference or no relationship exists. Statistical tests calculate the probability of observing results at least as extreme as those obtained if the null hypothesis were true. This probability is the p-value. Conventionally, p-values below 0.05 are considered statistically significant, meaning chance is an unlikely explanation. However, statistical significance has important limitations. It depends heavily on sample size, such that large samples can yield significant p-values for trivially small effects, while small samples may miss substantial effects. Significance does not indicate practical importance. A statistically significant difference may be too small to matter practically. Conversely, non-significant results do not prove no effect exists since the study may have been underpowered. Report effect sizes alongside significance tests to convey practical magnitude. Optional column responsibility assigns accountability for each evaluation activity. Including responsibility in your matrix clarifies who does what and ensures nothing falls through cracks. Staff positions responsible for data collection might include program staff, evaluation staff, or external evaluators depending on your evaluation structure. Name positions rather than individuals since personnel may change. Internal versus external responsibility distinctions matter for some evaluations. If using external evaluators, clarify which activities they lead versus which remain internal responsibilities. Role clarity prevents duplication and gaps. Responsibility should match capacity. Whoever is responsible for an activity must have the skills, time, and resources to complete it. Misalignment between responsibility and capacity leads to incomplete evaluation. Supervision and quality assurance indicates who oversees data collection quality and ensures protocols are followed. Even when data collection is distributed across staff, someone must ensure consistency and quality. Responsibility for analysis and reporting may differ from responsibility for data collection. Specify who will analyze data, prepare reports, and communicate findings. These tasks require different skills than data collection. Sensitivity analysis tests whether conclusions change under different assumptions or analytical choices. If conclusions are robust across reasonable alternatives, confidence increases. If conclusions change substantially, the dependence on particular assumptions should be acknowledged. Common sensitivity analyses examine different missing data assumptions, model specifications, or operationalizations of key constructs. Effect size measures convey the magnitude of findings independent of sample size. While significance tests indicate whether effects likely exist, effect sizes indicate how large they are. For group comparisons, common effect size measures include Cohen's d, expressing the difference in standard deviation units, with values around 0.2 considered small, 0.5 medium, and 0.8 large. For relationships, correlation coefficients serve as effect sizes with similar thresholds of 0.1 small, 0.3 medium, and 0.5 large. For explained variance, R squared indicates the proportion of outcome variance accounted for by predictors. Report effect sizes alongside significance tests in all quantitative analyses. Interpret effect sizes in context. Standardized benchmarks provide general guidance, but practical significance depends on the specific outcome and what size of change matters in that domain. Common matrix mistakes reveal gaps in evaluation planning. Missing indicators mean objectives without measurable indicators. If you cannot specify an indicator, you cannot evaluate the objective. Every objective needs measurement. Vague methods describe data sources without specific collection procedures. Saying surveys is not a method. What survey? Administered how? To whom? Be specific. Unrealistic timing describes data collection that cannot happen as planned. If you say baseline but participants enroll after baseline window, timing is unrealistic. No responsibility means no one is accountable for evaluation tasks. If the matrix does not specify responsibility, tasks may not happen. Subgroup analysis examines whether findings differ across participant characteristics or implementation contexts. Important subgroups often include demographic categories, baseline risk levels, dosage received, or site characteristics. Plan primary subgroup analyses in advance and identify them as such. Distinguish exploratory subgroup analyses from confirmatory ones. Interpret subgroup findings cautiously given multiple comparison problems. Drawing warranted conclusions requires integrating multiple sources of evidence while acknowledging limitations honestly. Consider the totality of evidence across different measures, methods, and data sources. Convergent findings across multiple indicators strengthen confidence. Divergent findings require explanation and temper certainty. Consider alternative explanations for observed results. Could selection bias, maturation, history, or other threats explain findings? Address these alternatives explicitly rather than ignoring them. Match conclusion strength to evidence strength. Strong causal language like the program caused improvement requires strong designs with comparison groups and controlled confounds. Weaker designs support weaker conclusions like the program was associated with improvement or participants improved during the program period. Acknowledge limitations transparently, including design weaknesses, measurement problems, and generalizability constraints. Honest acknowledgement of limitations enhances rather than undermines credibility. Presenting the matrix in proposals demonstrates evaluation rigor. Presentation often includes the matrix as a table in the evaluation section. Some funders request matrices explicitly. Others appreciate them even without requirement. Formatting should be clear, readable, and not too complex. Use sufficient white space. Keep columns focused. Avoid cramming too much into cells. Narrative briefly introduces and explains the matrix. Do not just insert a table. Explain what it shows and how you will use it. Completeness requires all objectives to have complete rows. If any cell is empty, either fill it or explain why. Qualitative analysis interpretation moves from descriptive coding to higher-level thematic and theoretical understanding. Initial descriptive codes label what the data contain. Focused coding examines relationships among codes and identifies broader categories that organize related codes. Thematic analysis identifies patterns of meaning across the data set. Themes capture something important about the data in relation to evaluation questions. Theme development involves iterating between data and emerging themes, refining definitions, and testing themes against all data. Negative case analysis actively seeks data that contradict emerging interpretations. Such cases prompt refinement rather than dismissal. Memoing documents analytical thinking throughout the process. Memos record insights, questions, connections, and emerging interpretations. They create an audit trail supporting transparency and reflexivity. Let us summarize the key points from this lesson on the evaluation matrix. The evaluation matrix organizes your evaluation approach into a clear framework displaying relationships among questions, indicators, data sources, methods, and timing. This planning tool strengthens both proposal development and evaluation implementation. Key columns include evaluation questions driving the evaluation, indicators specifying what will be measured, data sources identifying where information comes from, methods describing how data will be collected, and timing specifying when data collection occurs. Optional responsibility column assigns accountability. Creating your matrix involves systematic thinking through these elements for each evaluation question. The development process often reveals gaps or inconsistencies requiring attention. Presenting the matrix in proposals demonstrates thorough planning and communicates your approach efficiently. Matrices should be accurate, complete, and realistic. Include matrices in appropriate proposal sections and reference them in narrative descriptions of your evaluation approach. In our next lesson, we will explore implementation science frameworks, examining how the REAIM framework can guide evaluation of program reach, effectiveness, adoption, implementation, and maintenance.